We are so glad you can join us today because we have Kris Markovich here with us
Hi.
to tell us all about our fiction book club that we can all join. So, why don't you tell the ladies who might be new to BCC what it is and what you like to do?
Well, we read books and we talk about them. That's it in a nutshell. Um, yeah, we started meeting, I think in like 2004. I wasn't even part of it originally, but then it transitioned and I took over in 2013. So it's been a little while and we read a book every month for the most part. And then we come together and we talk about it on Tuesday nights.
And I love the way you told me that you announced the book to the ladies. Do you want to share with them how you do that?
Sure. At the end of every meeting, I give them the book for next month, and I usually say, okay, here's the book for next month. And then I tell them a little bit about it. Each month we have little bookmarks that come, this is challenging, that date of the next meeting and the time and everything. So that comes in the book. And so they don't know about it until after I announce it. So occasionally they find out earlier. And I notice that when they come over to my house, they look at my bookshelves and see what might be on the top of the bookshelf or the pile. And they kind of wonder if that might not be another next book. So,
That's great. Do you want to tell us some of the titles of the ones you've done?
sure. Actually, I have a whole stack here because these were my favorites and over the years. And so I pulled them out before this. We don't just read one type or another type of Christian fiction. All the books are Christian fiction, but we go through all different genres because Christian fiction is more than just one kind. And so, like this one, The Healer of Carthage, we read a few years ago, and it's actually a time travel book. And so it goes back into time, but we learned all about the Christians in Carthage in about the year 300 AD. And I had never really learned about some of the early Christians and how they were persecuted there and the bishops and stuff like that. And then this one is totally biblical fiction. It's in the shadow of Jezebel. And so it's about Elisha's time. Elisha or Elijah? I'm not sure. I can't remember. And you know what? I'm being vain and I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read anything in the book. But anyway, so that was a fun one. This one is more a current, it's in the 1940s, and also some of it takes place currently and then some of it back in the 1940s, and so it goes back and forth, but it was more current, and that was a fun one. And this one is a biblical fiction. I really do like biblical fiction, and we learn so much from those, but we do biblical fiction, we do contemporary fiction, we do romance, we do suspense, we do a regular historical, not biblical, but just regular historical, like this one, Where We Belong. And this one covers the Chicago fire and then Moody Bible Institute, as well as stuff in the Arabian Peninsula and languages. It was really and it was by a fun author. Man, I'm having a hard time moving it the wrong direction. She really does her research, and so her books are really fun to read because you learn so much. But then this one, oh, I've got to dust it. This one was by Randy Singer, and actually he was one of the guys who was one of the first authors who came to visit us via the laptop. I mean, we Skyped in with him. And so he showed us all around his office in Virginia Beach and told us about this book coming out. We were reading another book of his, but this one was his baby because this one is taking the premise that Luke and Acts and Luke were written for the as for the lawyer who was going to be defending Paul. And so that's why Acts stopped so abruptly, because that's where they were in time. But Paul is telling his story, and so for the lawyer to defend him. And so that's what this one was. And Randy Singer is a lawyer by profession. He's also a teacher at Regent University, and then he's also a teaching minister at Trinity church in Virginia Beach. So he has all those backgrounds. And so he was telling us all sorts of stuff. Then we have contemporary stuff. This was a breed apart. We read just one of them because it's 3 books in one. And so it's actually taking place in Afghanistan. And so it's war and dog related. So we just move all over the place. I pick the books. It's not a democracy. And so I pick the books and I try to find ones that I think are good, that I've enjoyed in the past because I read a lot. And then if I find them on sale, then we can get those books at a lower price. And then another month we can get a more expensive book. And so it just kind of all works out to be $5 a book each month. So
that is awesome.
One of the things we're doing, we just started this summer, was I came up with the idea of doing bingo. And so we're doing book club bingo. I don't know if you can see that, but what it is to encourage the ladies over the summertime to read different books. And so they're different things like Made You Laugh, Set on a Farm, Nurse Character, Sick Character, Includes a Recipe. So you need to read a book that includes one of these type books, and then you can just jot it in. I've been writing them down separate so that maybe if I read another book that has something, I can move it to another spot. Like one is flowers on the cover or yellow cover. So anyway, just to give a variety, and it has to be Christian fiction. That's the only, and it can't be a child's book, because I was like, yeah, I could read Curious George in like 5 seconds. And so we're like, no, it had to be a real book, not a kid's book. So
that is great. So of all the ones that you have read, what has been your personal favorite and why?
Oh, that's like asking which kid of yours is your favorite. I mean, because they're so,
you can choose two.
Well, they're just so different. And I really love some of the biblical fiction authors because there's such a wealth of information that I wouldn't normally know about. I mean, and even if I've read the Bible verse, when I go back and I read this book and they've thrown in, they've used these verses to weave a story, you're like, oh my goodness, is that really there? So then I go and I flip through my Bible and I'm like, oh, wow, it really does say that. And it just never, occurred to me. But fiction is a way of telling stories. And so they take the verses and then they weave a story around this verse. And so I just think it's really fun. So some of the best ones have been like Lynn Austin does some fabulous biblical Christian fiction. And then this one is a new person, Connie Cassette. I actually met her about a year ago, and she just she wanted to write. And so even though she homeschools her kids, she still at night writes these books, and she researches and researches. And then I don't have one. Oh yeah, I do. Nisu Andrews actually used to write Bible studies, but she discovered that her Bible studies weren't getting published the way she'd like. And somebody said, well, why don't you write fiction? You would be great at it. So she uses all the wealth of the Bible studies that she has done and researched to write these really great books. So I think she's a fun one. Tessa Afshar is really neat. This was Amanda Dykes' very first book, and it was really, really good, and it brought in all sorts of stuff. And so, yeah, Michelle, sorry, I can't give you. I can tell you some that I don't like, but not which ones are my favorites, because I'm like, some authors I know I'm going to like their book automatically. Other authors I don't know, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And then some authors I'm like, yeah, I'm not reading their books. So
tell the ladies how they can get involved and when you meet, and if they're interested in joining you for the next book, what it is.
Well, I showed you the book. This is the next book, A Secret Courage, and it takes place. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to have to put on my glasses because I can't remember if it's World War II is when that one takes place in England. So that's the next one. They can get in touch with me by sending me an email at, I think it's BookClub at burkecommunity.com, or they can always send you a note and you can forward it to me, Michelle. So
Perfect. Women at BookCommunity.com.
Right. And we have been meeting, even with COVID, we just have been Zooming our meetings, which is not the best way to do it, but it still means we get to see each other's faces and talk about the books. And so we've still been doing that. Either someone comes over to my house and picks up the book, or sometimes if I'm in their neighborhood, I'll drop off the book. So we have been meeting. Our next meeting, I think I said July 21st. It's a Tuesday. So, and then sometimes people say to me, well, I don't read fiction. I only read the Bible. And I'm like, that is great that you only read the Bible, but Jesus told stories. I mean, and that's what these are. They're stories. And in the stories, you can, get confidence and stuff because you see a character persevering through a really hard time, and you're like, I'm so glad I'm not going through that. But I know people do go through whatever the character's going through. And so it gives you, perseverance. I don't know. They're just, it's a story and it sticks. It's kind of like, a sermon isn't just reading Bible verses completely. There's stories that go with the Bible verses. And so I don't know. That's just, I like fiction. I like stories.
I love that because I've always been a nonfiction type person. So when I hear fiction, I'm like, oh, but you know what? That's an incredible point too that you made. I love that. Yes, Jesus was always telling stories.
And we like to relax. So do you relax in front of the TV or a movie or going on a hike or sitting and reading a book? I mean, it's just another way of relaxing, and it's actually good for your brain. There have been studies that show reading is good for your brain. And so I'm like, okay, bring it on.
That's awesome. And how frequently do you meet, so the ladies know?
We meet it's actually once a month. I think in the summertime we might stretch it out a little bit, but yeah, it's every month. So during the course of the year, we read 11 books usually. So
that's awesome. Well, ladies, if you haven't joined before, definitely reach out. Like Kris said, you can email women at Burke Community or book club at Burke Community, and we will link you up so that you can join them next time. Do you have anything else you want to tell us before we go?
Well, let me just look at my cheat sheet real quick. Okay. The only other thing is, I mentioned that we had one author come and talk to us via, I think it was Skype at the time. But usually about every year, once a year, I have some author tell me that they would love to come and talk with my book club. And so about once a year, we have an author join us via, now I guess Zoom, because that's what I have now, but we've done it through the telephone, through Facebook video, through Skype, and they come and it's kind of fun because then you get to hear the heart of why they wrote that book or what was behind stuff or a little bit of their background research. And so we've really enjoyed that. And that happens really once a year. And I've met a number of authors and they like to do that. So that's been kind of fun. And then we even had an author actually come to us. She came and she's been to the BCC lobby because we had a tea and talk. And so on a Saturday afternoon, we all gathered and we talked to her, and she told us all sorts of stuff about what she was writing and how she writes. And, some of the authors actually take pictures of people from Pinterest. They start a secret Pinterest board where they put the pictures of the characters and they decide how much they weigh and their eye color and what kind of personality. They even do the Enneagram on their characters so that they know how their character will react to a certain situation. So it's been fun to learn all of that stuff too. So that's another part that we do also. And then we try to get together for dinner once or twice a year, just so that it's not just the book club, but we talk and chat and then move into book club. So we always talk about the book, but then when we finish, we can talk about anything we want. So
I love how you have an author join you too. And Kris, thank you so much for joining us and sharing all about the book club. It's been so great having you.
Thanks.
And ladies, we hope you will join and we'll see you there soon.
Bye.
Bye.